All right, today we're going to jump into the real estate market in a classic New England town, Holden, Massachusetts. We've pulled all the latest numbers, and we're going to use them to break down exactly what's happening on the ground.
So look, if you're even remotely thinking about buying a home there, or maybe you're a current homeowner who's just curious about what your property is worth, this is for you.
You know, we all hear the national headlines, but what is the market in Holden really like right at this moment? Let's just cut through all the noise and look at the hard data to see what story it's telling us.
Okay, so let's cut right to the chase. What's the single most important thing you need to know about the Holden market right now? The one key takeaway that defines the entire landscape.
And there it is. No ambiguity, no question about it. Holden is a seller's market, period. This means the conditions strongly favor people who are selling property over those who are trying to buy. But, how do we know that for sure?
Well, it all comes down to this key metric called months of inventory. Now just think of it like this. If not a single new home came on the market, how long would it take to sell every single house that's currently listed? A nice, balanced, healthy market is usually somewhere around 4 to 5 months.
And in Holden, that number is, get this, just 1.29 months. I mean, that is just incredibly low. It's basically telling us that demand is completely blowing supply out of the water, and that's what creates this intense seller's market we're seeing. Okay, so seller's market means it's competitive. We get that. But what does that competition actually look like? In terms of price, how fast things are moving, bidding wars. Let's dig into the numbers.
And here's the thing. This isn't some brand new trend. If you look at the long-term picture, you can see that home values in Holden have been on this steady, consistent climb, now hitting a median estimated value of $573,000. So this sets a really strong foundation for what's happening today.
Okay, this next number, this is where things get really interesting and shows you just how competitive it is. On average, homes in Holden are selling for 103% of their original asking price. That's a huge deal. So what does that mean? It means paying over the asking price isn't the exception, it's the rule, it's the norm. So for you as a buyer, it means you have to walk in expecting to offer more than what's on the price tag. That's just the cost of entry right now. And things are moving at lightning speed. The median time a home stays on the market is just 9 days. I mean, stop and think about that for a second. If a home is priced right, it's pretty much guaranteed to have an accepted offer in a little over a week. Blink and you'll miss it.
All right, so we've looked at the big picture stats, but what about the homes themselves? What's actually selling? Let's take a peek at what a typical sold property in Holden looks like.
This chart really gives us a great snapshot. The sweet spot, the real core of the market, is in that $500,000 to $600,000 range. And what are you getting for that? We're typically looking at 3-bedroom homes, usually between 1,200 and 1,400 square feet. And a lot of these places have that classic New England charm. We're talking homes built 70 to 80 years ago. But hey, don't think it's just one type of house. The housing stock is actually really diverse. You're going to find everything from those charming classic Cape Cods to much larger, more contemporary colonials. So there's something for pretty much every kind of taste and family size. A housing market doesn't just exist in a bubble, right? It's all driven by the people, by the local economy. So let's pull back the curtain a bit and look at the demographics that are really propping up Holden's strong real estate market. If we look at Worcester County, where Holden is, we see a really highly educated population. Over 42% of folks have a bachelor's degree or higher, and that's a huge indicator of a stable, professional workforce in the area. And of course, that translates directly to income. The median household income in Worcester County is way above the national average. This kind of financial stability, that's the fuel, that's the purchasing power that feeds a competitive housing market like the one in Holden. So there you have it. When you put it all together, high education levels, strong incomes, and really low unemployment, you get this solid economic foundation that makes a resilient and super robust housing market not just possible, but pretty much inevitable. Okay, so we've looked at the what, the how, and the why behind all this. So what does all this data really mean for you if you're thinking about jumping into the Holden market right now, either as a buyer or a seller? Honestly, the takeaway here is pretty straightforward. For buyers, get ready for a fight. Be prepared for competition. You gotta act fast. You should probably expect to pay over asking, and you absolutely need to have your financing locked down before you even start looking. And for sellers,
Well, the market is completely in your favor. If you price your home correctly, you can expect a ton of interest and a really quick sale. And that really leaves us with one final interesting question to chew on. In a market that's moving this fast, where sellers have all the leverage, is the biggest challenge really finding a home to buy? Or, for a lot of people, is it finding your next home after you sell? It's a real catch-22 and definitely something to think about.